Hi everybody, it's Marcy, and I wanted to show you something with a little golden book. I'm following along with Dear Julie's beginner series on a little golden book, and this is the book I'm using for that series. And you may see me working on this book some. But I've already tried recording this video once and somehow didn't get it all saved. So I'm going to use this book to show you what I was trying to show you in the first video. And what it boils down to is a lot of people take the golden book apart and get rid of this little extra spine. And when you do that, as you can see, your pages go all the way to here. So when you get rid of this little extra spine, your pages, you're left with this much for your front cover, because you lose this. So your pages end up being way long, and you have to fold them, or you have to cut them off, or whatever. And I can't remember who I learned this from. I will try to find out and put a link below. But a way to save that so you don't have to lose as much of your page space. And the other thing I discovered was if you want to try to keep your little gold band. This one I'm not really worried about keeping, but on my other one I was able to use, I've got some 91% alcohol, and I'm just rubbing it along, and it helps loosen the glue. And if you can get a good start on it, you might be able to save your band. It takes some time to get that done, and I'm not gonna, but you can see it's just being gentle and taking your time and using that alcohol. And I'm not putting the alcohol anywhere on the main part of the book. All of this where I'm putting the alcohol will end up being covered by fabric when I make my new spine. And this little thing that I'm using is actually a dental tool. The only problem, the alcohol seems to eat it away. I don't have a Q-tip over here. That would, now that I've got it started, that would make it go quicker. And like I said, it's a slow, kind of laborious process to get this done. But if you want to say, on this book, the gold label is pretty worn and not really necessarily worth trying to salvage. But if you've got one that's good, or even if you've got one that isn't great but you want to salvage it anyway, I discovered that just slowly taking your time and using the alcohol to help dissolve that glue that's holding it on can be a really good way to salvage that spine. All right, so instead of having you watch me do this, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to try to get the rest of this off, and then I will be right back. Okay, I got my little gold strip off and got it mostly. I tore a little bit here and there. But like I said, I was not being especially careful with it because this is not in great shape. But I did want to show you that I did get it off in one piece using the alcohol. So the next thing I want to do is take the staples out of my book. And I think pretty much everybody has their own method for accomplishing this. Remember the goal in this case is to keep these little strips that the staples are in. They will become part of our front and back covers. So we don't want to just tear them off. So that requires taking a little more time to get the book taken apart without jabbing yourself. I managed to bend that one all the way back. Okay. I've actually found that using my flathead screwdriver gets these staples out easier than trying to use a staple puller. Okay, so staples out. Next thing, throw staples away before they have a chance to end up on the floor and subsequently in yours or someone else's foot. Okay, now your book should come apart. Mine appears to have a little, there's a little glue right there on the edges, but you can just gently, and I've still got my 2 signatures of 3 pages each, and now I've got my front and my back flap. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to take a little bit of sandpaper. I'm just going to use a nail file, and I want to lightly scuff up my little strips because I'm going to be gluing them. And I want to get down a little bit in the crease, in the gutter there. And I'll go ahead and clean up this edge. And as you can see, I'm not, doesn't have to be scuffed a lot, and that still has some paper on it, so it will grab just fine. Just trying to get rid of a little bit of the slick to make it a little easier for my glue to grab. And I'm still taking special care not to tear or lose these extra strips. All right. Now, I've got some baker's baking thread, baker's twine, basically. And And I am going to wrap it around and cut it off. Do one for the front and one for the back. I'm just leaving a little extra tail at the bottom for now. Later I will be cutting that off. Okay. Now, I'm using Aleene's. You could use Fabri-Tac. Do I want to use Fabri-Tac instead? Doesn't really matter. I was having trouble with my... I think I'll use my Fabri-Tac. I really prefer my Aleene's for this, but I think that bottle's about had it and I forgot to replace the bottle. Okay, so I'm gonna drop some glue. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna try this. Drop some glue right in that little gutter crease. And then I'm going to take my string, leaving a little tail at the bottom, and I'm going to push my string into it, into the glue, and into that gutter. Okay. Then I'm going to wrap it around the top. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to drop glue right into the gutter. And push my string right into the glue. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside to sit for a second, and I'm going to don't want to move it too much. And I'm going to do the same thing to my front cover. Then I've got two 1.5 inch strips of 65-pound cardstock scored down the middle so it can be folded in half and cut to the length of my book. This book is 7 7/8 inches tall. And I'm going to say this because a lot of times we hear Little Golden Book and we hear a size and we think, or a length, and we think they're all the same. This one is actually 8 inches. And the other day as Julie was measuring hers, she was saying 7 15/16. So, and I was so accustomed to the 7 7/8 inch that when I went to do this one, I had to measure it 3 or 4 times with multiple different rulers to convince myself that it actually was 8 inches. So I'm just letting you know that so that don't take what somebody else is saying their little golden book is measuring to be what yours needs to be. Okay, so back to my cardboard strips. So I've got 2 of those. One for the front cover and one for the back cover. And for this, just because the Aleene's is what I used the first time, so I'm going to use it again. Okay. So, I'm just going to hope the Aleene's cooperates with me today. So now I'm going to put glue over my string and over this inside edge. And I'm going to put glue on this. And really the only reason I want to use the Aleene's here is because if I have some glue ooze, which I most certainly will, I want to have a second to clean it up. And the Aleene's is easier to clean than the Fabri-Tac. Okay. Then I'm going to put that right over my book edge, line it up top and bottom. You'll see it's going to cover my string. And I'm going to grab my bone folder, and I'm going to grab a little wet wipe so I can wipe my fingers off. And I'm going to burnish that down. And I am getting some glue ooze, and I want to clean that up because I don't want that to get all over my book cover. Okay, then I'm going to flip my book over and glue the other side. Okay, and now I am going to clamp this just to be sure that everything stays in place and dries like I want it to. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to my back cover. And then I am going to leave these to dry overnight. For you, it'll just be a couple of minutes. For me, it will actually be overnight. Okay, through the magic of video editing, I'm back, and my book, what do you call it? My glue is all dry. Everything's ready. Before I show you what we've got, or as I'm unclipping these, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave me a comment. I love seeing your comments. And I'd love to hear what you're up to. I'd like to know how you're doing. And all that good stuff. Plus, right now, remember, if you've seen my previous video, by subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video, you get a ticket into my 100 subscriber drawing. So, and I will link the video to the drawing details in the description box below, so you can check that out. Okay, so now look what I've got. I've got a very good solid spine on this with the extended book board. So now, where did my book pages go? Here they are. So now when I make a spine to go into the center, and these little strings I'll just cut off. So I'll have a spine, but my book pages fit perfectly back into the book. So I've not lost, that's about a ½ an inch that you lose, that you have to lose somewhere, either by folding your papers or cutting them off or whatever. So this is just I have found a really good way to be able to keep the full width of your book. So that's what I did on this one that I'm actually working on right now. And I made, on this one, I made a 1½ inch spine, covered it in fabric, and just made sure that my fabric was over far enough to cover this, the white border. But now my papers, my book pages and everything go in great. These I have trimmed a little bit. I had a little bit of page creep like you're going to have with your signatures, so I did trim them a hair shade, but not nearly as much as and I would have had to do that regardless, even if I had to cut them just to make them fit the shorter width. So this way, that's all I had to do. So I've got full book pages. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to continue working on this book, but since I messed up the last video, I wanted you to see how I had done that, and hopefully that helps you if you're trying to make a little golden book. And let me know what you think. I really like this method. Anyway, so that's it for now, everybody. Please take care of yourselves. Be safe, stay healthy, happy crafting, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.